In 1973, a stage play humbly debuted as a college drama project. Throughout the intervening years, its spirit has captivated millions with an influence as profound as it is immeasurable. Hearts were softened. Priorities were reoriented. Children were welcomed. And then, in 1989, it was updated and produced for video. And again in the year 2000, it was remastered to digital video disc. The magic continues. This is the making of Saturday's Warrior.
It still remains the preeminent cultural phenomenon of the church. It portrays the struggles of a family that's trying to do things right. And it portrays it in such a way that people can identify with it in or out of the church. And there is no doctrine really propounded. It demonstrates aspects of our beliefs of the premortality and an afterlife and commitments and things like that, as well as portraying the struggles of missionaries and all those kinds of things. But it doesn't. People felt quite safe about taking people to it and being able to entertain them with a message that, again, it portrayed the struggle of a typical LDS family.
There is not a generation that can't relate to the story of Saturday's Warrior. I mean, it will go on forever.
Didn't we love him? Didn't we raise him well?
We cast Mom and Dad first. I remember absolutely as though it were yesterday when we'd been going through a couple of possibilities for the mom. And Marvin and Gay sang Didn't We Love Him? And there were probably 300 people in the room. I mean, there were little kids and all the hullabaloo that had to do with casting. And they started singing this in the corner with the accompaniment of the keyboard. And they finished that song in each other's arms, and that place was absolutely silent.
Love him.
It was so profound. And half the girls were crying, and the little bitty kids were all just quiet, staring at them. There was absolutely no doubt, none whatsoever, that these two were going to sing this. And from there on, the casting just got easier and easier.
There was nobody else on the planet that could have really played Marvin Payne's part. He's got that jaw, you know, that jaw that says, I mean what I say, and I'm a dad, and I deserve respect. I have more experience than you 18-year-old. It says it all.
It's just normal teenage brain damage, or
He's got it written in his face, and he's extremely
done
talented.
something really wrong.
Couldn't have been anybody else.
I came thinking I was auditioning for one of the elders, because that's usually the part I play, is the funny guy. They actually had me read for Todd. I was a little stunned. I knew I could sing the part.
Remember me?
I played Benji!
If she gets a letter from Wally, she blubbers.
If she writes a letter to Wally, she blubbers.
I made a statement of fact.
My audition came from a friend. I didn't know there was an audition that day. She said, I'm going to go audition for a movie today. I said, can I come? And I was lucky enough to be cast.
Well, it's been 10 years. I had my teeth straightened.
It's just like a family. They're always running around, pushing each other and tussling and teasing and stealing each other's stuff. It was just amazing.
10 years ago, I was in line with probably 200 other people waiting to come in and audition. Eric and I had come down here on a whim.
Revelations 14, 6, and 7.
When I was cast, I went right in and quit my job because we were told it was going to demand a full month of our time.
Oh, I'm gonna knock him dead.
So I went in and quit and basically decided I could live on rice cakes for a month.
There was a lot of sisterly and brotherly love and some, you know, little bantering back and forth that made things light.
They sat us down. Bob stood up and said, "I'd like you all to stand up and introduce yourselves." And Eric stands up and he goes, "I'm Eric Hickenlooper." And I'm like, "Yeah, right. What's your real name?"
But when the time came to be sober and to really feel the spirit, it was also there. And we really got to have a great friendship together.
That family just felt really like they belonged to each other.
The family gelled unusually well.
Yeah, I mean, we really loved each other. We really love each other still.
I really loved these people. I had grown to love them quite a bit.
I think we were all cast because, you know, it was natural for us to fall into those parts. And I was a little bit silly. I still am a little bit.
10 years ago, a roommate of mine came and asked me if I would be willing to go to this movie audition with her. And I remember feeling kind of inadequate and not really interested, but because of her insistence, I decided to go and audition for this movie. Well, I remember walking in and there was a room full of tons of people, and bit by bit they started matching all of the girls up with the guys who had previously been cast. At the end, when we had completed, the director, producer, Bob Williams, stood. And he said, "I'd like to thank you all for coming today, but our cast has been chosen." And I remember standing there thinking, do I leave? What do I do? And he walked up to me and he stuck out his hand and he said, "Welcome aboard, Julie Flinders." Well, in that instant, I felt like I was going to pee my pants.
Corey just had this personality that just drew you in and drew you to her. And I think everybody on the cast really developed a closeness with Corey.
There was definitely, you know, an intervening spirit there, I think, when it came down to the picking process, because we all worked so well together.
These kids couldn't leave each other's sight, and they took care of each other. They watched after each other. It was absolutely amazing. They became a family.
Surprise! For he's a jolly fellow, for he's a jolly fellow, for he's.
And during the last couple of days of shooting, they stayed right here in the studio. They didn't go home at night. They stayed here with everybody as a big family. They had their sleeping bags, and they did not want to separate from one another. And I mean, that's just unheard of. I mean, on a normal production, these people at the end of the day don't want to see each other again.
In producing Saturday's Warrior, we had the luxury of working with friends and people that I had worked with before, and it was so much fun. And we were all young. For some of us, it was the first big thing we'd done. For many others, it was something they had done for years and were contributing their assets and their skills to the show. But we had so much fun shooting the show together. Even the crew felt like we didn't want the thing to end. The show leaned on music so much, we had to have a great music director. And Bob asked for recommendation as to who we could get to do this, who would be great. And I thought of some of the talented people that I'd gone to school with, and Brian Blas was my first choice, and we approached him on it, and he was very excited to do the job and to produce it. And he brought with him a lot of great musicians. Jerry Williams, who I'd gone to school with, who had been very successful down in LA.
And hit that B flat with us, Rob. That's the only note you ever hit. On your repeat, D minor 7, G minor 7 over F.
We don't have one of these.
Then B flat over C.
Sam Carden contributed tremendously to the music recording under Brian's direction.
There's Mike Dottle and his IMAX chart.
Jeff, are you ready?
There, here we go. All right. Circle of I Love, reprise 1, special, warm, and sensitive. 1, 2.
autism. Julie? Oh, Julie, no, you can't do this to me.
This will sound good right here.
Brian did the recordings at BYU Motion Picture Studio with Jeff Carter, the engineer.
Yeah, just.
While we were doing Feelings of Forever, we turned it around a little bit and we incorporated the Book of Mormon that he had just received from the missionaries. And I remember we went through the scripture and we kind of figured out what would really stick out in Todd's mind about if you pray, you will receive the truth of this. And we actually incorporated that line of scripture into the lyric of the song.
And if ye shall ask with a sincere heart, having faith in Christ, you may know the truth of all things. Ye may know the truth.
And I have had so many people comment on that, on how important that was and how it changed it from what could have been just a simple love song into a song that was a testament of the gospel and how hard he was trying to find what really made him special and what really made him important.
Brian got great performances out of him and brought a sensitivity, I think, to the performance that was new and different. A lot of people had only heard the album recording of the original cast. So a lot of the habits, vocal habits, had all been imitated from that original recording. And it was refreshing to hear a new interpretation. Soundtrack was just phenomenal.
That Brian Blossel, he knows a lot of notes, I'll tell you.
Dun 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 dun. Okay, it's just we're just too many notes.
Not too many notes, no. Just the right amount.
The new Saturday's War theme, I think, is just marvelous. When I heard that the first time, I said, "You hit it right on," and it inspired me in a way to cut together an intro using children.
And endless promise in their eyes.
Bob's two daughters are in the intro. One daughter, Allison, who we call Oopie, is holding flowers walking through a field up by his house at Sundance. And his other daughter, Christina, is dismounting from parallel bars, showing off the champion spirit that little 7-year-old gymnasts have. And I had used my own children and some neighbors and a few other kids that I rounded up at a playground. And we shot children in their youth being so alive and excited about beginning life here on Earth. I think that feeling that's naturally in children at play is what we wanted to capture in that montage, because it opened up the idea of Saturday's Warrior from a story about a culture in a valley to a story about us beginning life here on Earth everywhere as children. If you look closely, you'll see a lot of my children. My son Mike is poking his head over a fence. And my daughter Hannah's 1 year old at the time. She's being held in the arms of a friend of ours. To fill out the choruses, to make them really sound rich, Brian dug into some of the Mormon Tabernacle Choir, who moonlighted, luckily for us, and became part of our chorus.
The credits were stunning. I love the credits. I mean, that actually sort of touched different universal buttons in me and connecting with, casting the net, out to all humanity as effectively as the play or the actual story.
For a long time, I had a special effects company in Hollywood, and we worked on films such as Popeye. We made the Terminator robot, and have worked from concept to completion really on a lot of big films. It was a good learning experience. Before that, I actually worked right here on the first season of the Donnie and Marie show. Came back here after, must have been 10 years or so. Just turned out to be the perfect facility for doing Saturday's Warrior. My co-producer, Dave West, put together a remarkable collection of people that had immense experience in TV production.
That I was able to draw upon some great talent from the area who are really some of the best in the business to come and help contribute into the show. Those people included Dave Stoddard, who was the lighting director at the Osmond Studio, worked on a lot of the Osmond shows, and Bruce Call, our stage manager, who had worked with me at the Osmond Studio before. The set designer, Seven Nielsen, who did a lot of the set design for many of the Osmond specials, Osmond shows. He did a really great job in a short period of time. We had to paint a cyclorama, a continuous background behind the actors for the heaven scene. And our first stab at it, it just didn't quite work. It wasn't quite there. And we only had a day or two left before the shooting. And we sat down with Seven one night, and I said, Seven, we're going to have it dark on this side for this kind of shot, white over here for this, and we're going to have to do it again. And Seven said, no problem. It'll be done tomorrow. We came back the next morning. It was done. It was beautiful. It was exactly what we needed. More celestial bodies over one side, some stars, and it was exactly right.
The heaven scene was a huge challenge. I mean, the stage, the corner where that painting was, it's called a cyc, was huge, and we built a dam around the outside of it, and the fog represented a challenge. We used liquid nitrogen, which is very temperature dependent. So this was during the summertime. So if the stage was too warm, the fog would dissipate more quickly, and of course you couldn't replenish it during a scene because of the noise of the machines. And it was a challenge.
I had a cool scene in heaven. I got to stick my head through the clouds and say,
Fellow citizens of the planet! Can't hear you down there.
The way we actually did it is we surrounded the area that I was enclosed with cardboard, so the liquid nitrogen would fill up past my head, and I would jump up out of the clouds, but I had to hold my breath or else it's liquid nitrogen and you can't breathe it. It's dangerous.
The matron in heaven had this, just a device that I came up with that was her necklace that would flash when it was time for the spirit to go down.
Now is it time?
Because she was doing a lot of wandering around, there was no way to really remotely cue the flashing of this thing. So she had a switch that was hooked to her clipboard, to her prop clipboard, where she was looking at this stuff and keeping track of the spirits going to Earth. And it was, she got pretty good at it, but it was tough there for a while, because every time she'd get excited, if there was an emotional moment in her lines, like when she's yelling at the elders to hurry up and get there, she'd start clicking it faster and faster. Pretty soon things went around her neck and would have to do it again, but she did well with it.
The show had so much fun to it. It had so much sparkle, and it wasn't too serious, so we could have some fun with a few special effects. Keeping in that light tone, we decided, well, why don't we just zap the spirits down like in Star Trek?
When they shot me and Elder Green in the pre-existence, kind of getting flashed out of heaven, I thought, this is going to be awesome.
So we put the actors on a green screen and shot the background. We did it simultaneously to make sure we could match everything up and we could get the same action at the same time.
Zap! Zap!
So from the booth, I yelled out, ready, 1, 2, 3, zap, and the matron would react. And over here on the left or on the green screen, Kessler, whoever was going to be zapped down, would zap down. Later on, we put them together.
The moment where Pam in heaven is reunited with Emily was just magic. Adding the music background to these scenes, that music element was added in and mixed in, and so for the first time you got to watch these two come running together with the music theme going on in the background. And it was one of those moments where you just knew it was happening. Everybody in that room, you know, all experienced filmmakers, everybody just fell apart. It was embarrassing. They were all guys. And it still works on me. I go to pieces when I see that scene. I love it.
There's two ways to shoot a movie, and one is film style, which is one camera, and each time you need a new angle, you move that camera. So if two people are talking, you shoot it from this side, then you shoot it from the other side, and you light it each time. It takes quite a bit of time. We didn't have the time or budget to shoot this film style, so we did it more TV style, which is multi-camera. We had 3 to 5 cameras going all the time, covering the action.
Okay, from the top. Stand by.
Man, what a party. Who are those women from San Diego?
Flinders, you were in rare form last night.
Yeah.
Come on, let's head back to Mac's place.
Man, it's good fun.
Hey, look, I think I'll stick around here for a while.
He's doing penance.
This is gonna wash away his sins.
And in another room, what we call master control, it's kind of like mission control. I sat with the technical director who switched between cameras live. It was like editing the show as you watch. So we'd cut from camera 1 to camera 2 to camera 3, back to 2, try to do it live.
Action. Excuse me, ma'am. Have you ever wondered where this beautiful child came from?
Beautiful.
Excuse me.
2.
Oh,
Beautiful. Thank you, everyone.
For so
Ready on
long.
3, ready on 1.
Here comes some more people.
1.
Let's give it all we got.
Ready on 3.
Preach the word. Break down any resistance. We'll never forget
3.
this moment. Oh, excuse me,
You
ma'am.
missed the bump.
Is one moment too?
Of course, you can never get it all exactly right each take. So in case we made a mistake, we always isolated one of the cameras so that we can go back and fix a problem if we had to. And it gave us a lot of room to edit and get the best results we could.
I think the dance expressed through words and told a story beyond what the words could say, and that's what I wanted the dance to do. There was a scene and there were words, and then when you're past saying a word, it needed to go into dance, and that was what I hoped was woven throughout. It wasn't the only thing, it just kind of went past where they needed to break into song. That's how it happened. Martha Graham said that God danced before he talked, and I'd like to think that.
Kim Lanham Smith had an extraordinary vision for this thing. She's a very special person, and more than just the dances are choreographed per se. I mean, there is a choreography to the whole production, and she helped us maintain that. There are some obviously very beautiful lyrical moments. There are some very, very rhythmic, hard-hitting, worldly things that we wanted to portray with the dance, and she was able to do it, and to do it in a timeless fashion of choreography, a style that would be that would endure and complement the music and accomplish the visual that we wanted to do. She did it. She was also pregnant, and she was 7 or 8 months along, and she could still outdance most of these kids, and she was just a remarkable dancer.
I love choreographing, and when I've been pregnant, I have always stepped back and enjoyed that role, so I really did enjoy it. Thought a lot about twins, thought a lot about Pam and her brother, and had no idea I was carrying twins at the time. Found out right after we were done.
She had me lifting Julie as I was supposed to be singing Circle of Our Love, and I gently lift her across one side of the set and take her to the other and set her down, all while singing. And of course, she didn't bother to ask me if I actually had biceps. She just assumed. And it's a really good thing that we'd recorded this earlier. You know, we were lip-syncing, while filming, we were lip-syncing to ourselves singing. And it was a really good thing we did that, or it would have sounded like the Circle of Our Love.
Because I think I'm more well-known just for the one spot that I came in during the park. You know, people will come by and say, you know, I've seen you walking through the park with your son. And
we did a lot of walk-on parts as well as our dancing, which was fun. And as dancers, we got to play a lot of different roles too. We were the gang, we were in heaven, we were people in the park, we got to sing. I didn't realize that we would get to sing. When we auditioned, we didn't sing for the audition, but they had us sing actually on the track, and that was a lot of fun too.
When I connect with those individuals that are in the arts and they say, you have 9 children and why are you doing this? You have a talent. I've always felt that my talent will go on. And I didn't want to be a lonely old person. And I'm just grateful to do those things first. And I've always been blessed for sacrificing and having those children to do the projects that are rewarding. Because I was in New York and been there and done that. And a resume is, I mean, you never get enough performing. And so the greatest performances have been my births. And I've loved each of my children, loved them. So I love being a mother.
Doesn't pretend not to be cheesy and corny. It says, we are cheesy and corny and let's make magic out of it.
Bob chose to keep it almost like stage performance, although it was on video. It wasn't an epic, it wasn't dramatic, it didn't transcend what it had been, it just encapsulated what it had been, the best of what it had been, so you could see it and almost feel like you're watching it live again on stage. And I think that was a really good artistic choice that people have been happy about over the years.
I've heard so many compliments about the show and how much people enjoy it and how glad they were that it was on video, because now they can pass it around, now people can go see it, they can share it with their friends. And for a lot of people, it was probably the easiest way to share what they believed in about living forever.
And there's a whole generation now who, when they think of Saturday's Warrior, don't think of a play at all. They think of this video that they watch. And some of those viewers would even be surprised to know that it had ever been a play.
There's mistakes in it, and there's mistakes in every movie if you want to find them. But for some reason, if the movie dips into the story, the spirit of the story, and is able to pull out enough of that, the audience will carry the rest.
A lot of it could be a little more sophisticated, but it really works as it is.
I remember Lex telling a story about taking some of his family is immersed in film in Hollywood, and he had a lot of the execs from one of the studios where I think his parents or someone was working, and he brought them to the play, and afterwards he was asking all these guys about what they thought about it, almost apologetically. And I remember him telling one of the guys going, "Don't worry about it, Lex. I loved it. I even love the missionaries. I believe in heaven now. It's wonderful. Don't apologize for it." If you were to take any of the elements out of it that are specifically church related, you'd be killing the spirit of it. It would how good would a Fiddler on the Roof been if you'd have taken the Jew part out?
People typically say to me, "Weren't you the dad in Saturday's Warrior?"
I'm forever going to be coined Jimmy, no matter where I go.
I got a lot of letters from missionaries there for a while.
Whether I have a goatee and a mustache for a show or a bleach blonde hair, and that's always the question that, how long ago was it you were Todd?
Usually they can't pick out who I was, and then I'll give them some of my lines, like, "Is it hereditary, Jimmy?" or something like that, and then they'll be like, "That was you."
Because I'm in a wheelchair all through the show, I have a lot of little children that it just seems to shock that I can actually walk or that I'm actually alive.
And the next hardest thing was finishing the show, wrapping everything up and leaving was really a kind of an empty feeling, because go back out into the real world and to leave that behind was like leaving that special second home that had been established in just a month's period of time. So ending the production was tough.
Looking back, I'm glad that it's one of the things I was able to do in my life. And if I do greater things, that's neat, but I'll still always be able to say what a great time it was being able to make the video Saturday's Warrior.
The greatest satisfaction has always been to see people's reaction to it, and in the intervening years since we released it, to hear the stories of the positive influence that it's had on people.
When I was having my third baby girl, I was in labor, I'm in the hospital, and this nurse, just an incredible woman, her name is Judy, she said, "You just look so familiar to me. Where do I know you from?" And my mom was there with me, and you know, being the mom, she goes, well, have you ever seen Saturday's Warrior? And she goes, oh my goodness, that's it. She had lost a little girl that was about the same age as Emily in the movie, and she said that is the one part that we just love, because she had just a year prior to losing that little girl, she had lost an older daughter that was in her teens. And she said, our whole family, that whole scene just is, it's what we know happened up in heaven.
In that time, I felt really compelled to stay in tune with those kinds of things so that I could pull off the show and portray it the best I could. I mean, actually going down to the point of reading scriptures and things like that a lot more during that point in my life than I think I have since, even on my mission. I mean, I was really into it. I wanted it to work well, and I recognized the importance of carrying the essence, not just the mechanics of the show.
The one line that I remember of Saturday's Warrior that touched me before was Todd saying, I lived before I came here. And he had just come to that realization, and how it matched everything that he had felt before but couldn't put into words. And that was it. And that is always what comes back to me. I lived before I came here.
To me, it was spiritual, and I'll never forget it.
I hear hundreds of stories, and I still get letters today. There was a gentleman who was in prison and ran upon a copy of Saturday's Warrior, and it changed his life. And he did. He made parole and got out and met this woman and married her and has several kids, and apparently is in the bishopric somewhere in Draper.
Saturday's Warriors really changed my perspective on life in many different ways. You know, I had a brush with cancer about 3 years ago and went through some hard times. Went through chemotherapy and really had a battle for my life. And at that time, you know, my wife was expecting our first child, and a lot of things go through your mind. And just thinking about how, you know, a family can be together forever really had more of an impact at that time than it ever had in my life. And I think being a part of Saturday's Warrior really kind of ingrained that, and gave me hope at a time when I really needed it. So, you know, I look to it more from just being a story and something that has a happy ending to being something that really built strength for me in my life. It means more to me now, 10 years later, than it ever did back then, having children and having a family.
We had a screening room at a studio up in Salt Lake. We had people from the booksellers, from the press. We had everybody was coming to see Saturday's Warrior. We had official invitations. I mean, this was the big event. And literally minutes before we were to begin, we were editing in the last parts of the opening scenes. It was frantic. It was hot off the press when we finally piped it into that room and walked in and saw all these people that were sitting there waiting for this thing that would finished about 4.5 seconds earlier. I remember when it was all over, you know, the lights came up and people didn't move. Nobody moved. They just sat there. And That was good. And then people started composing themselves and getting up and walking out. And I hadn't been aware, because I'd gone to the front when it first started and thanked everybody for their help and stuff. And everybody had gotten up and walked out, and I noticed one little soul there in the middle of all these seats who just hadn't moved. Well, it was Doug Stewart, who wrote the play. And I walked over and said, well, what did you think? And he said, I'm just stunned. I never knew it could be like that. And I think, yes, you don't get any better than that.
This video will live forever. I don't care about the fashion of the clothes, because I have young kids laugh and say, but you know what, it's just part of the show. It's just who it, you know, what it is. It doesn't speak to you in the sense of time and the essence of a certain generation. It is timeless. I mean, it serves no single generation. It'll go on forever.
This was by far the epitome of feeling like you did something really, really good when it was over.